Welcome back to the Tiny Room Hanger. Happy Friday, everybody. Is it the first? If it is, I'll put that clip in, but the sound bite. Today I want to talk to you about the peak of collecting, and we are there. Now, the peak doesn't look like a peak so much. It's not sharp. It's more of a plateau of things, and the cliff it falls off of afterward is not quite as sharp as a drop off as I'm showing in my clickbait, but it's coming. It's coming soon. By 2030, I guarantee you the landscape of collecting Masterpiece Transformers, or anything at all whatsoever, will be drastically altered, and I'll discuss why. So I'm going to talk about a handful of things that we are going to experience, what we have experienced, and what's going to change and alter and why going forward. And at the end, I'm going to give you the advice on what you should do if you're collecting Masterpiece Transformers or any of the other 100 toy lines I collect. Coming up! Now, around 2013, 2014, we saw sort of a renaissance of Masterpiece Transformers collecting, and there were so many companies coming out announcing left and right. It just felt like so much every week. There was 3-4 new announcements for characters that we did not have in the Masterpiece range. Takara was never going to make it, and third party really started ramping up in 2014. Oh, Beavis. Oh, what's down there? More peaks. So we're kind of experiencing the second peak, the second hill to climb now. But for the longest time, we saw amazing, absolutely amazing reveals and releases. Now, if you don't know the past, you're doomed to repeat those mistakes. So if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat your mistakes. But we won't dwell too much in the past because we're looking forward. As much competition as there was back then, there's even more competition today, which is why I'm calling this the peak. I think right now we have more competition for Masterpiece. Back then, a lot of the companies were still trying to keep up with the bros, the Hasbros, and trying to make the chug scale, the classics, universe, Henkei, generations. Now that acronym would be a 26-letter acronym. With all the competition is fierce. We're already seeing companies tapping out, dropping out, like they can't hang. And the reason they can't hang is for a lot of reasons. But like Rising Force decided to not make a Masterpiece because it was quite a bit of oversaturation in the market for Minosaurs, so they went to Legends, which there was, maybe it's working for them, I don't know, but I'm not really messing around with it. I gotta say that it shocks me that you'd want to be the fourth and last against the biggest hitters out there, and stuff like that is going to kind of carry forward as we go along. But why would anyone even try? Because the market is that big. Getting back to my diagram here, as we went through, we saw something in 2020, which I won't dwell on this too long because we've got bigger fish to fry. What we saw were tourists. There were a lot of what we call people that didn't collect, had a lot of time to sit at home, get the helicopter money, all this stuff, start collecting. There's a couple of things about tourists. Number one, tourists spend a lot of money when they're on vacation touring. That was going on. Then some people decide that they like the place they're visiting so much they want to move there and they want to stay. But most tourists come, they tour, they enjoy their time there, and then they leave. It's kind of called the GTFO mentality. A lot of people did start collecting, and as we get into some later issues, stopped collecting. These are called the tourists. And if you are a tourist, actually I have a lot of tourists that watch my channel. They don't collect anymore, and it's purely just enjoyment to see what's going on out there, even though they're not part of it. A lot of them do comment and they say, I'm glad I'm not collecting that anymore, and stuff like that. And I kind of do the same thing. There are toy lines that I collected, and I collect 100 toy lines, right? Well, I was a tourist of about 50 or 60 of those. I just collected it for a little bit. I've got it and I'm done, and I don't buy anything else for it. I don't really want anything else for it. But for the most part, you're going to have a lot of tourists in the Transformers community because Transformers is so big. It's so massive. And you might even get some of those people that will revisit for one of the main 6, maybe 6, main 8. An Optimus Prime or a Megatron that's stellar. We'll bring them back in. Then what you have left are the hardcore, diehard collectors. The ones that are in it to win it. And guess what? Some of the tourists have converted to diehard collectors. Some of these tourists have an amazing collection and they've stayed, and they're going to stay for a while. And in fact, a lot of the excitement and energy that comes from new collectors kind of reinvigorates some of these older hardcore collectors. But the biggest problem, and I will say this, the biggest problem with the long-term hardcore collector is that we have pretty much every character covered. There is almost nothing left for us other than, yay, we get an 1/8 of the same character that's slightly better, and I got to figure out what to do with my old ones. And so that's kind of the problem. Now, there are some new hardcore collectors that have said, well, I'm just going to wait and see what comes on these 20 characters as I get my core collection together. And everybody's situation is different. And of course, we'll talk a little more about that. But collectors are mature in the collecting cycle when they're hardcore collectors, meaning that they don't need everything that comes out. And so with that, not as much demand is currently out there for every single character. Now we're looking at this Fans Toys Devastator, and I will say this, that not everybody wants to get a new Devastator right now. A lot of people are happy, very happy with their toy world, and I can understand that. I don't have a problem with that, and in fact, I would say if you're happy with something, don't upgrade. But at the same time, one of the future problems will be trying to get something like this reissued. One of the other problems is that with all the competition that's out there, and I'm 100% sure that Fans Toys does not have the demand that they had in 2020, 2021, and 2022. And in fact, 2022 was when we saw those negative quarters in the US, and that we really haven't had a true positive quarter since then if you factor in inflation. The truth is that Fans Toys is rushing to beat X Transbots. And I think they feel like they're not winning, so they've got to be first. Used to be they could be 2 years late and everybody would buy it. They have their own numbers. They have their own metrics, and they are rushing this Devastator. And I will say, shout out to the TF Marauders for having a pretty good video, making me feel a little less bad about struggling with this dude. The next point I really want to discuss is that as time goes by, passage of time, we find that G1 collectors dominate, absolutely dominate, when it comes to the demand side of Transformers. And it's really kind of, I don't want to say stranger or thought at all. It's not. Now, let me get into the explanation here. But the majority of collectors collect G1. If you look at the age group, they're aging. And aging out of collecting, in my opinion, the only way to age out of collecting is to die. Hey, settle down there. So I'm allowed to say the word die on the YouTubes. The words you're not allowed to say are suicide or commit suicide. You're not allowed to talk about guns, like AR-15 style rifles. And you're not allowed to say COVID-19 or coronavirus. So please don't say those or you will be canceled on YouTube. I'm allowed to say anything I want, at least for a little while. All right, so sales of anything, this is just a generic chart here, where it says 45%, put it up to 65%, because that's where G1 is. And then everyone else is fighting. Every single company that I showed is fighting for this slice of the pie. And how big is said slice of the pie? Or how many slices is it going? Well, all the different eras of Transformers. And I love this picture. Every era of Transformers could be represented, but as you go deeper into different said eras, there's less and less people. And what happens is the market becomes fragmented. And let's get another pie chart, which is just a generic pie chart. And all this stuff is still, it's theoretical. There's no way to get real numbers. But as you can see, like, as we add more stuff, there's the G1 group shrinks. Part of the G1 group's dying. It is what it is. They died. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And please don't eat sugar. It's bad for you. And it'll keep you alive if you don't eat sugar. But as you see, it starts getting fragmented as we go through more eras of Transformers and more people wanting this. So each slice of the pie gets smaller. So there's less companies fighting for that slice of the pie, making products to satisfy them. And I have an example coming up. But before we get into that example, I want to talk about a little bit of this intersections. And you can collect G1, you can collect Beast Wars, you can collect Energon, you could collect Transformers 1. There's an intersection in there. But at the end of the day, there's going to be like one era that you pick as your favorite. I put people in pockets, which you shouldn't do that. You should never just like people go, Mike's a Transformer guy. And it's like, why is he put 70% of his videos are not Transformers now? But 30% still are. It's a lot, right? But when you look at this and you say, well, I collect Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I also collect Transformers. These are just generic Venn diagrams that kind of intersecting circles that show that we have different major groups of Transformers that collide. I was going to take the hour and a half to plug in all the different eras, but since it's all theoretical and nothing is truly factual, because nobody has true numbers, except for the fact that I still know G1 dominates. And I can guarantee that, and the one way you can back that up is how much product is produced for the G1 market, and how much of that sells out versus other eras not selling out. Those are factual. You can look at that. Here's the future. The future is going to look so compartmentalized and so divided that it's going to be extremely hard for any one era, even G1, to dominate. And I'm talking 2030 will be the beginning of this. Like, we're starting to see slight beginnings of this now, but in 2030 it will be enhanced to a level that is so obvious to everyone that's out there. Let's move on to my example. I have an example right here. So Beast Wars, I would say, would be the second largest era of Transformers aside from the movie stuff. Now, the movie stuff is another whole different beast. And you'd say that, okay, movie collectors also collect Beast Wars. G1 also collect Beast Wars. But not every one of them. Again, refer back to those diagrams where they just kind of overlap a little bit. But when they start multiple overlapping, you get Beast Wars being pretty popular. But we have the good old Transart, who did a fantastic job. Sort of an amazing job, and they did a lot of stuff. I'm hearing that they're done for. But, I mean, even if they're truly not done for, then there has to be some sort of explanation attributing to the slowdown in their release schedule and even their reissue schedule. But I've heard a lot of people, and I've seen a couple of, I guess you could say, posts of theirs that they were not very happy with the negative response to some of their figures, which, I'm sorry, you gotta have tougher skin than that. You just really have to have tougher skin. If anybody is part of Transarts and ever watches one of my videos, your figures are great for the price point. I'm perfectly satisfied paying $75 for a rat trap that is not completely die cast, but it looks fantastic, works okay, it's great. I don't want a $200 rat trap. I don't. None of these figures I would have paid $250, $300 for. But for the price point they're putting them out, I accept any imperfections and flaws that they've had, which have been very minimal in my experience. Next up, we have indie creators that are, in my opinion, we're seeing a peak of indie creators. And going forward, between now and 2030, a lot of them are going to fall off the cliff or in the ravine. I actually don't think Like Toys will be one of them. Like Toys is a company, maybe just to say, just a group of people that are making phenomenal releases that everybody that buys them loves them. They're extremely expensive. And the only way they can continue operating and doing what they do, which is amazing, by the way. I have nothing negative to say, except the price is high. I heard this is like $4,500 for this. I might be wrong. It might be more for the Metroplex. But you can't deny the fact that it looks amazing. It looks exactly like what I'd want out of a Metroplex. I personally think we're going to get a HasLab Metroplex that looks a lot like this, but it's not going to be 4 foot. It's just going to be a Titan. Maybe a little bit bigger Titan. I have another Metroplex picture, which I truly have no idea who made these. Somewhere along the line, somebody made them. This is creators making amazing stuff. And with that, will we see a true G1 manufacturer like Lewin Resource did theirs? And what I kind of think is that there's a fine line that some of these creators walk to stay out of trouble. And then there's the ones that give us exactly what we want and are very successful but very expensive because they don't make them in mass production. That's another way to get around getting in trouble. You don't mass produce it. You don't make a whole lot of them. And I think that's how Like Toys just stays out of trouble. Like they're customs that they don't make a whole bunch. They're not making a production run of 20,000 or something. They're making like 20, maybe. Now let's get into kind of the future, the downside. A lot of things are going to change, alter, and shift. Now that we're at the peak of this, we collectors have the budget to support all these companies, to have the demand for the product so they can actually produce it. And what's going to happen? Well, as we age, a lot of times our living situation changes, our finances change. So if your living situation changes, well, I mean, who said it best? If your living situations make you want to get, that's 'cause you're living in the days of way back. Yeah, I'm stuck in way back. I'm stuck in the 80s. I'm living in the days of way back all the time, in my head, in my mind. But as we get older, as life throws something else at us, living situations change. And with that, we all will have space issues. We'll have opportunities. I've actually seen a lot of people displaced because they were renting and their house got sold. And that, let me just say this, whoever owned the house that they were renting sold at the top of the market. And I don't have any problem with people doing what's best for them. And if you're renting, well, own. So you can't get evicted. You can't get kicked out unless you don't pay your mortgage. But there's a lot of situations, and everybody's in a different situation. And as time goes by, and as you deal with all these issues, you have to make adjustments and changes. And really, I've seen that happen to a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people sell entire full-on collections for next to nothing because they have to. Or they're sticking it in storage, and this isn't how people's collections end up in bins and totes and just crammed in storage until they can't afford to pay the storage unit. And then someone buys a storage unit, and it's like, oh, I struck gold on someone else's downfall, so someone else's low point. And in all reality, that's getting kicked while you're down. I don't celebrate that kind of stuff. But it's reality we live in. We all have to accept this reality that in the future, things change. So I have my own personal future plan. I plan to downsize myself at a certain point in time for a very specific reason. And I'm not going to put all of that out there. I'm actually a lot more private than you think about some of these things, even though I share a lot more than most people do. But with that, this is future planning, and the future planning doesn't include collecting the way we collect today. As the market declines, so will the options, they'll dwindle. But they won't go away entirely. So there will be players that are still in the game. I see Fans Toys in it for the long haul, no matter what. Even with kind of the maybe some missteps they've done, they're still in it for the long haul, and they still have enough of a collector base. So in 2030, I still think they'll still be around. but you could probably find 5 or 6 different companies. I want to say DX9 said they were done. They threw in the towel, but they came back because we're at the peak, and they realized that there's no reason to throw in the towel. Let's keep it going. Let's just keep on trucking. And I guess they also see Fans Toys and think, Fans Toys keeps on trucking. Why aren't we? I kind of feel like that's part of it. But at some point, it's no longer going to be sustainable for this many companies to be making this much product. And that's just inevitable. It's just going to happen. And with that, what is my suggestion to this? As people have a lot of reasons that they're no longer going to be collecting, and the market's contracting, the market's shrinking. I say enjoy this while it lasts. Enjoy it thoroughly. Enjoy the hobby. There's a lot of wait and see and wait and see. But if something's getting produced right now that you want, you buy it. There's no guarantees for tomorrow. Well, there's no guarantees for tomorrow anyway, but there's no guarantees for this product to come back out. And I have watched so many people, and I think I got a good picture of that. People happily paying $300 for a figure that was released for $100 to $110 in that price range because they want to enjoy the hobby right now. There's no guarantee they get reissued. And in fact, the more time goes by, the less chance they're going to get reissued. No Fans Toys reissues this year. So there's a whole lot to this collecting. And they've already announced that they're not going to do any reissues on the Minosaur. So many people that are gladly doing that to be part of it because they don't want to pay $600 down the road, because that's a possibility. Also, if you like what you like, doesn't matter what era you like what you like, enjoy it. Don't be swayed by other people. If Mike at Tidarium Hanger likes G1 the most, don't dislike the era you like the most. Enjoy it. Share that with me. Like, this is my favorite one because of this. And I got to tell you that I've gained more appreciation from other eras of Transformers that I at some point disliked to the nth degree. I appreciate it now because of other people's passion, and they've shared that. So with that, enjoy what you enjoy. If you like Beast Wars, like it. If you love Beast Wars, love it. At the end of the day, Transformers is one of the, if not the most dominant franchise that's out there, which I would have said it was Star Wars. Star Wars has fallen off. They fell off the cliff years ago. They're down there at the bottom of the cliff trying to get up. And when you look at G.I. Joe Classified, I got a video for that coming tomorrow. I don't think it's got much longer in it, personally. And so I'll cover that tomorrow. But let me know what you guys think about the Transformers. And was this fun? Was this helpful? Did I make you laugh a couple of times? Like and subscribe. Tidarium Hanger out.